Hi, my name is Bibek Adhikari. I am your English instructor. In today's class, we are going to solve the writing portion of Unit 13, that is, how to write a short story. So, let's begin. We are now going to start how to write a short story. In your exams, you'll be asked to write a short story for 5 or 6 marks, and you'll also be given some guidelines. Based on that guidelines, you need to draft a short story. So let's first start learning by the elements of short stories. Let's start with the essential elements. Needless to say, a story has 5 basic but important elements. These 5 components are: number A, characters; number B, setting; number C, plot; number D, conflict; and finally, number E, resolution. So these are the 5 different elements of short stories: characters, setting, plot, conflict, and resolution. These essential elements keep the story running smoothly and allow the action to develop in a logical way that the reader can follow. Now what happens is, by the mixture of all these elements, story stands on its own. The story gets some life and becomes alive. Let's just go through these 5 elements one by one, but before that, I want you to know what these 5 elements are. So let's do a small review. So what are characters? Characters are people or sometimes animals who perform certain acts in the stories, right? What is setting? Setting is time and place where the story takes place. What is plot? Plot is the actual story. It is the way the story unfolds. What is conflict? It is the main element, also known as the crisis point. So this is where the action takes place. What is resolution? This is ending. So resolution is the end of the story. Let's start by learning each and every element in detail. Characters. Now, who are characters? That is the first question. Now, characters are people, right? Sometimes they can be animals also. Sometimes they can also be plants. If you're used to reading fantasies, science fiction, even animals and plants can talk. So animals and plants become the characters. Characters are the individuals that the story is about. The author should introduce the characters in the story with enough information that the reader can visualize each person. This is achieved by providing detailed descriptions of a character's physical attributes and personal traits. So individuals have physical attributes and personality traits, right? So individuals have physical attributes and personality traits. Characters are not cardboard cutouts. So this stickman that we have here is not a character, right? Now we need to give this stickman or stickwoman some physical attributes and personality traits. Traits means characters, right? Now let's give him some physical attributes, maybe nice golden hair, right? Big, nice golden hair. Let's give him some other physical attribute. Let's say he always wears a big suit. That is one physical attribute. Let's give some other physical attributes. Let's say this character always wears this round John Lennon type spectacles. So these are physical attributes. What I just did was I gave this stickman some physical qualities. And by giving these physical qualities, this stickman is now turning into a real person. Now I'm going to give him some personality traits. Let's say he is angry all the time. He's grumpy, he is complaining about everything. He is always worried. Also, let's say he is hypersensitive. What that means is, even if you say something good, he is likely to be more sensitive and take your compliment as a negative comment, something like that. Let's say he is a cynic. So I'm giving all the negative traits. You can also give some positive traits also. Let's say he is the lover of books. He loves reading books. He always reads books before bedtime, right? He's a cynic. Even if you say something positive, he says, no, that's not true. It's not going to happen. If you go up to him and say, that movie was really nice, he would go like, that movie was full of nonsense. So he's all-time cynic. But he is a lover of books. He reads books. He loves Dostoevsky. He loves Gorky, all those Russian giants, Tolstoy, Anton Chekhov. So he's a lover of books. But he's angry all the time. I don't know why, but he's vengeful. is trying to seek revenge and he is hypersensitive. Even if you say some positive things, he is likely to take it negatively. He is likely to be sad, depressed, worried all the time. He feels like the world is going to end soon and there's no point in living. There's no point in drinking coffee, no point in drinking, making love, something like that, right? So what I did is I turned this stick man into a real person. This is what story writers do. They turn the cardboard cutouts into real humans by giving them physical attributes and personality traits. Every story should have a main character. Now, what we need is a main character. There are other characters which are not so significant in the story, but they do play some role, and they are called minor characters. The main character, however, determines the way plot will develop and is usually who will solve the problem the story centers upon. However, the other characters are also very significant because they supply additional details, explanations, or actions. All characters should stay true to the author's descriptions throughout the story so that the reader can understand and believe that the action is taking place and perhaps even predict which character may do what next, right? And this main character could be a protagonist or an antagonist depending upon his personality. If it's a villain or a vamp, now he or she is surely going to be an antagonist. But if it's a hero or a heroine, positive character, someone who is seeking love, someone who is trying to solve the mystery, now they are going to be protagonist, right? Main character could either be antagonist or protagonist. There are other characters who are called minor characters. Now these characters are not as important as major characters, but they do play some kind of role in the story, right? That is all about characters. Let's go to setting. Now, setting is the location of the action. It is the location of the action. So what do you mean by location? Location means place and time, not just place, but also time, right? So it is the place and time where the story is going to take place. An author should describe the environment or the surroundings of the story in such detail that the reader feels that he or she can picture the scene. So it should be detailed so that the author can picture what is going on, correct? Unusual settings such as a fantasy world can be interesting. Sometimes the setting is unusual. For example, a fantasy world. Now this could also be an amusing thing for the readers. But everyday settings can help a reader to better visualize the story and feel connected to the plot. We have another kind of setting which is called everyday setting. So this is mostly used in realistic stories like a realistic world, right? So we have an unusual setting and another is an everyday kind of setting. In an unusual setting, what you get is a fantasy world. If you remember the story of Harry Potter, now Harry Potter is this genius wizard, smart wizard who is trying to obtain something, is trying to get something in life, and the setting is all fantasy. The school is Hogwarts, the place is called Magical World, it's not like Muggle world, the normal world. So this is what we have as an unusual setting. In everyday setting, what you get is a realistic picture of the world. What that means is you find a setting that is normal to you. It may be a coffee shop, it may be a park, it may be the footpath, anywhere, normal place. It could be office, it could be your school. So these are all everyday settings and normal settings. And by using the everyday settings, what the writer does is it helps you as a reader to visualize the story and feel connected to the plot, right? Now, setting is significant. Both place and time are significant. You cannot just, escape the whole story by writing once upon a time or long time ago in a distant village. So don't do that. Give some life to the story. Use details. Details. So all you need is lots and lots of details. But don't overdo it, because it will all become more like, if you overdo it, the story will become encyclopedic. And I don't want you to write an encyclopedic story. I want you to write a story that has full of empathy and that carries you away, transports into another world. So don't just overthrow details, but don't underdo it. That's my point. Now let's go to another element of the short story. The another element of short story is called a plot. To fully understand the plot, I'm going to draw a diagram. So this is the plot line for a linear short story, or linear fiction. We are not going to study non-linear short story. We will only study linear short story in our syllabus. So let's understand the plot line of the linear short story. Linear short story has 5 different points. The first 2 points from A to B is called exposition, which is also known as opening. It's called the opening or the exposition. Exposition is where you are given a view of the characters, you are introduced to characters, you also know about the setting and all that thing. Now something happens in point number B, that is called first action. First action. After that, what comes is called rising action. The story goes on progressing. Finally, a point comes, point number C, second action, and that is called the crisis or the conflict. Now this is the significant, this is the main part of the story. Now crisis is there. Afterwards, the action goes on falling until it reaches point number D, that is the third action. And after third action, what happens between point number D to point number E is known as resolution. Resolution is also known as the ending. So this is how the story ends, from exposition to rising action to crisis to falling action to resolution. That is all the plot line. Now what do you mean by the word plot? The plot is the actual story around which the entire book or the short story is based. A plot should have a very clear beginning. It should have a middle and an end. So we have beginning, middle, and end. Not always in this order, but this is the general order with all the necessary descriptions and suspense, which is called exposition, so that reader can make sense of the action and follow along from start to finish. This is starting, this is finish. So the reader must follow the action from starting to finish. Now if you are used to watching Hindi cinemas or Tamil, Telugu movies or even Nepali movies, you will know that the exposition is where there's a little boy, the boy is very poor, very lonely, and is walking on footpath, I don't know why. And suddenly at point B, the first action, he meets a girl. The girl is driving a car, or maybe the girl is bicycling or doing something else, playing tennis. And the boy sees the girls and instantly, just like that, he falls in love. That is the exposition part. After falling in love, the action goes on rising. What we have here is rising action. Suddenly they start, seeing each other, dating and all that. A point comes that is called the point of crisis, when the boy finds out that the girl has a father. The father is very rich, unfortunately, and is also somehow associated with the mafia. Now what happens is, in the falling action, there's a lot of killing. People fight and kill each other and they die for no particular reason. Lots and lots of houses are destroyed. Many people are killed. There's explosions and everything. So the characters don't know what to make, Out of that, a point comes, that is point number D, where the part-time mafia father finally says, okay, it's okay. I did a mistake. You seem like a true lover. Take my daughter away, something like that. Finally, a point comes, point number E, where the story ends happily. The boy and girl, they get married and they have many children and they're happy. That's a happy ending, right? Or sometimes it could be a sad ending, and sometimes the endings are open. So this is all about plot. Now let's go to another element of the short story. The another element of the short story is called conflict. It is also known as crisis. Every story has a conflict to solve. The plot is centered on this conflict and the ways in which the characters attempt to solve the problem. When the story's action becomes most exciting right before the resolution, it is called climax. So it is the most significant part of the story. It is most exciting. It is also full of tensions and problems. So this is also known as the middle part of the story. It is significant, most important part. It is exciting because we as the readers are waiting what will happen next. Now it is full of tensions and problems. There are many problems and tensions in this part. Now let's go to the last part of the short story, which is last element of the short story, which is called resolution. What exactly is a resolution? Resolution is the way the story ends. Resolution is also known as the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is the way the action is resolved. For example, many authors often, resolve a conflict by finding a compromise for two fighting characters or helping fix any mistakes the characters made while they were fighting, something like that. So it is significant that the resolution fit the rest of the story in tone and creativity and solve all parts of the conflict. So what it does is it solves all parts of the conflict, right? Resolution could be happy, or it could be sad, or it could end in suspense, correct? So resolution is basically the solution to the problem. It solves all the parts of the conflict. In conflict, we have tensions and problems. Now, these tensions and problems are finally solved in the resolution part. A resolution could be happy, sad, or it could end in suspense, right? Now, this is the question that you will get in your exam. Use the following guidelines. Guidelines will always be given, and write a short story. Also, give it a suitable title and a moral, right? Let's read the guidelines. A storm fell upon a forest. A dead tree struck by lightning. The forest was on fire. A little parrot flew toward the river. A desperate idea came to him. Dipped himself into the water. Flew back to the forest. Released the drops of water into the heart of the blaze. Continued this task. An eagle appeared. Advised him to save his life and stop that useless task. The parrot wanted help, not advice. The eagle realized and joined the parrot. All the other birds joined too. They seized the forest fire. All creatures praised them. Moral of the story. Can you do this? Let's start by finding out the 5 elements of the short story first. Let's start with the characters. So who are the characters? The characters are parrot. The little parrot is the character. Afterwards, the eagle is the character. And other creatures. These are minor characters, not so significant. These are all minor characters. Let's go to the second part, which is known as setting. So what is the setting? The setting is a forest, long time back, something like that. Let's go to the third element of the short story, which is known as plot. What is the plot? Plot is the little parrot seizes the forest fire with his bravery. Let's go to the conflict. What is the conflict? The conflict is the eagle saying something like that. What is the resolution? How does the story end? Alright, number E, resolution. What is the resolution? How does the story end? It is a happy ending. All creatures praise the little parrot. Now, so who are the characters? The parrot and the eagle. Parrot is our protagonist. Eagle behaves like an antagonist in the beginning of the story. Later he turns as a protagonist also. So there seems to be a shift in his character. So that's why the eagle is called a round character. And other creatures, these are minor characters. They do not play much significant role in the story. The setting is a forest. Any forest, we don't know which. You can use your imagination and give name to the forest. Long time back, we don't know the exact time. You can use some dates if you want to. What is the plot? The plot is the little parrot seizes the forest fire with his bravery. Along with the help of eagle and other creatures, the little parrot, saves, extinguishes the forest fire. That is the plot. That is how the story unfolds. What is the conflict? The eagle saying, what does the eagle say? Eagle says something like, whatever you are doing is completely stupid and meaningless. Please stop doing this and save your life. That is the point of conflict. At that point, the parrot replies, no, I'm doing my job. I do not need advice. Rather, I need help. So that's what the parrot says. Now that is the conflict. And what is the end? Resolution. The resolution is all creatures praise the little parrot. The bravery of little parrot is praised by all the creatures, and it's a happy ending. Now, can you write a short story in 3 paragraphs, give it a suitable title, and finally, a proper moral? Can you do this? I think you can, right? Now, with this, we have come to end of today's class. Now, I'm going to give you some homework as usual. Your homework is, this is your homework. Question number 1. I want you to use the following guidelines and write a short story and also give it a suitable title and a moral. Can you do this? Write 3 paragraphs. Or you can write more than 3 paragraphs if you want to. Use some dialogues. Use your imagination. Give a name to this forest. Give a particular time. You can also name this little parrot. You can also name this eagle. Where is the eagle? Oh, here's the eagle, right? You can use dialogues like, the eagle says, why don't you stop doing this useless task? Change the paragraph and the parrot says, at this point, I want help, not advice. So something like that. the parrot and eagle go back and forth, right? So this is your homework. With this, we have come to end of today's class. If you have any questions or suggestions regarding this video series, feel free to write us at learning@deerwalk.edu.np. Thank you.